Hey, so you're not, you didn't watch the same video by mistake. This is a new video. It just looks like the last one. And that's because we need to take a look at this. Before, when we did it back here, we were looking at the if function, okay? And so now we're going to look at ifs, IFS. So if you, when we were doing the if-ifs, when we did this down here, if you thought this was a little confusing and complex, you weren't alone, okay? Everyone's been complaining about this for a long time. And it wasn't until just this most recent version of Excel 2016 that we had a new way to do this, all right? So we'll look at this now. This is easier. This is a much more logical way of doing ifs with multiple outcomes, okay? But we want to learn both ways, okay? I wanted you to learn this, and I do want you to learn this and remember how to do this. This will be the new way to do it, but I want you to know how to do the if because it's actually quite common to come to a business and sit down at the workstation you've been provided and to find that they are using an older version of Microsoft Office, an older version of Excel, and that's because it works just fine for them and they're not going to pay for the new version. And so if I only teach you how to do the most recent stuff, you'll be totally handicapped when you sit down at an office somewhere where they're running an older version. And so this is brand new, and so let's take a look at it. It will make things simpler. I've filled in the same stuff. This decision tree looks just about the same, except we ask every time if something is true, and we don't worry about if it's false. And so let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the way we'll do this. Instead of an if, we're now going to use ifs, IFS, right? Ifs. And what we're going to do is we're going to just do one logical test and an outcome, a logical test, and an outcome, a logical test, and an outcome. So we'll just go through this the same way we did before. We'll ask, hey, is this equal to 0? Because comma, if it is, just give us that 1,000. Now, this is where it's different. We're going to go comma, we're going to give it another logical test. We're just going to say, hey, so are you equal to 1? Because if you are, I want this outcome here. And again, we're just going to give it another logical test. So we'll go comma, and we'll say, hey, well then, are you equal to the number 2? Because if you are, I'd like the 500, okay? And so this will just go through and I'm going to go ahead and end this with a black parenthesis, Control Enter, and so right away we get NA. What's going on with that? Not available. Oh, well, is 3 0? Is 3 1? Is 3 2? No. And so this will work for 1. This will work for 2. And this will work for 3. Okay, but it won't, this will work for 0, right? This will work for 0, 1, 2, and 3. So there's 0, okay? It'll work for 1, and it'll work for 2. But it won't work for 3 because it doesn't have that. And that's what we can see right here. So value if true, if false, next test, if true right here, value if false, next test, if true there, if false, next test. Well, you know what? We don't have a next test in here. So what I would need to do is to cover all of these possible outcomes by saying, is this greater than or equal to 8? And at that point, I would have everything covered. So I would come down into here, and I would change this test here greater than or equal to 8, and then that would cover every possible thing. And at that point, you know, I could go ahead and delete this stuff because it wouldn't even exist, right? There wouldn't be anything past that. This covers all of the possible outcomes, and so now I can go ahead and make this 12, and it'll always be that 500. And so this is ifs, IFS. Here, let's take a look. Let's zoom in on that thing so we can see how that is written. We just go logical test, outcome, logical test, outcome, logical test, outcome to cover all of the outcomes we have. And in this case, if we have 3 outcomes, we have 3 tests. So it's very different than the nested if, the if inside of the if. It's an easier way to do this, more efficient. It's the new version of it, but we do need to know both ways so that we can work at any computer that we sit down in the world.